Today we're going to be talking about the paranormal documents the FBI and CIA held back for more than 3 decades. Back in 1983, the FBI and the CIA collaborated on a document so sensitive it was buried for 3 decades. When it was finally declassified, 40 pages were missing. Today, we ain't just talking about those pages, we're reading them. We start in 1994, Gold Hill, Oregon, the US. The Miller family, Sarah, Mark, and their 7-year-old Toby. It started with a smell. Not rot, not sulfur. It was the smell of ozone. Like a lightning strike that never happens. So this wasn't the usual smell of sulfur or rotten meat like we spoke about in our previous episode. This was a smell of something completely different. Mark claimed the house felt heavy, like walking through waist-deep water. Then came the clocks. Mark said one morning every analog clock in the house began spinning backwards. Not at the same time, at different intervals. It was as if the time itself was desyncing in different corners of the kitchen. These clocks are not what concerned Mark and Sarah. It was what happened next. The viral moment, the thing that brought the men in suits to their house in Gold Hill, Oregon, was their son Toby. Toby had claimed he had started talking to a tall man inside their house. He told his mum that the tall man lived inside the hallway mirror. But when his mum started to question Toby told her that the tall man is very sad because he can't remember which way is forward. Now this is very strange. Children have the ability to communicate with things that adults can't see. And I'm sure for any parents out there with children, you've had that experience of your child speaking to their imaginary friend. Sometimes this is not the case. Maybe next time, if your child is speaking with something that you can't see, ask your child a few more questions, because they may be interacting with something on a spiritual level. 2 nights later, Sarah Miller looked into the same mirror in the hallway. She began to brush her hair. She stopped suddenly, but her reflection kept brushing. Now this has got to be absolutely terrifying, to be staring at yourself in a mirror where your son has told you that he's speaking to a man, and you see your own reflection continue to brush your own hair. For 3 full seconds, her reflection moved independently. That was the last night they stayed in that house. But it's what the FBI found under the floorboards a week later that changes everything. Lifting the floorboards of the Miller's household uncovered a massive deposit of quartz and limestone. So this might explain why the Millers were experiencing their paranormal activity. Most skeptics say that mold or infrasound would have been the issue. But we also need to look into what we spoke about in the last episode, the stone tape theory. A recording of an event that is ingrained in the stone. Think of the Earth as a giant hard drive. Quartz is used in every watch and computer on the planet because it holds its own frequency. What if a haunting is just a glitch in the file? A traumatic event, a scream, a death, a moment of pure terror that gets recorded into stone. Here's the twist that'll keep you wondering. If the Earth records the past, does it record the future? If you see a ghost in a Victorian dress, is she just a memory? Or are you the ghost in her timeline? And she's seeing a demon wearing a hoodie and holding a smartphone. Now, this is a very interesting theory because the paranormal world talks a lot about layers, the different time periods of ghost sightings. Have a think about that for a second. Are we just living another timeline, but tapping into the timelines of the past? Now we're getting to the core of this episode. The FBI call these files the Gateway Process files. These are real documents. You can find the redacted versions on the FOIA Reading Room website. But researchers have pieced together what was in those 40 missing pages. The holographic construct. The FBI isn't interested in spirits. They are interested in dimensions. The file states that our universe is a frequency hologram. Everything we touch is just energy vibrating at a low speed. This is documented on FBI files, stating that we are living in a frequency hologram. Page 31 of these documents is called the Trans-Dimensional Biological Entities File, short for TBEs. This is the viral part. The FBI explicitly states that what we call ghosts or aliens are actually the same thing. They call them TBEs. These entities exist at a frequency just slightly higher than our own. Why can't we see them, I hear you say? Because your eyes are tuned to a specific channel. But page 38, this is the one that sent chills down my spine. It says that when we are in a state of extreme fear or sleep paralysis, our brain chemistry shifts. Our tuner changes. If you've ever experienced sleep paralysis, it's one of the most scariest things you can experience while lying in bed. I myself personally had this a lot growing up and could never explain it. The sheer terror that ran through my body every time I experienced this was something that I wouldn't want anybody to go through. But if you have had a case of sleep paralysis, I would love to hear your story in the comments below. The FBI realizes that terror is the key. It's a bridge. They were experimenting with how to keep people in a controlled state of mind. This being a controlled state of terror. Just to keep the window to the other side slightly open. They weren't trying to stop the hauntings. They were trying to harvest the data from them. This is extremely terrifying to know that the FBI and CIA are holding this type of information and have been freely experimenting with it. This would explain why every time you turn on the TV or turn on the radio, there is nothing but terror. You no longer hear of the good things that are happening in the world. And this is a prime example. While the FBI often defers physical alien investigations to the Air Force, their declassified vault files reveal they have spent decades experimenting with the psychological and dimensional side of the paranormal. So the FBI talk of the Gateway experiments, a joint project involving the FBI, CIA, and Army intelligence. The Gateway process was an experiment into the hemisync. This is short for the hemispheric synchronization. Subjects were put into isolation booths and exposed to specific sound frequencies to sync the left and right hemisphere of the brain. The results: the FBI documented that subjects could project their consciousness outside of their bodies. The famous redacted page 25 explains that the universe is a giant hologram, and the human consciousness can navigate this hologram to view events in the past as well as the future. We're being told this in all these movies, guys. You must have watched plenty of movies in your time. And everything that has been brought up is either in a movie and been told to us in plain sight. We're going to talk about Project 6751, the Ethereum Memo. In 1947, a 70-page memo titled the Memorandum 6751 was sent to the FBI by a high-ranking university professor. The FBI took this seriously enough to keep it classified for over 60 years. The memo claims we are being visited by beings from etheric planes. They aren't from another planet. They are from a parallel world that vibrates at a higher frequency than our own. The FBI studied how these entities could appear and disappear at will by simply changing their vibration. The memo warns that these discs could destroy any human aircraft instantly if they felt threatened. Back in the 1950s, the FBI conducted secret field tests on a man named William Foose and his daughter, who claimed to have non-visual sight. FBI agents would blindfold the subjects with heavy tape and lead masks. then asked them to read secret documents or identify objects in the dark room. The files show that the FBI was stunned when the subjects could see through solid walls and blindfolds. The Bureau was trying to determine if this extrasensory perception could be used to read minds of foreign spies or even look into secure enemy facilities. This is where the government take things into their own hands. As it states there, they were looking into whether these people could look into secure enemy facilities. And then we wonder why the world is like it is. Check this out. Hidden in the unexplained phenomena section of the FBI vaults are reports on the effects of infrasound. Infrasound is a sound below the human hearing range, around 18.9 Hz. The FBI investigated why certain buildings were reported as haunted. They found that certain architectural shapes or machinery produced an 18.9 Hz frequency. This specific frequency causes the human eye to vibrate, creating grey blurs within your eyes. This can trigger a primal fear response in your brain. The FBI researched if this frequency could be used for crowd control or to induce artificial hauntings, could clear people out of specific areas. This is absolutely terrifying to know that all of this information was being held back by the government for so many years. This is crazy. And this explains why the world is in such a mess and how they control mass people. It's absolutely phenomenal. When you look into these things, I get really passionate about this because these are things that we should know as human beings. Okay? These weapons are being used against us to keep us in a certain state of mind. Do everything you can to open your brain. Meditate. Put yourself in good frequencies. Stop the negativity. Stay positive. Because we need it. We all need to wake up. It's about time. These things are now being put out in front of us. They even go on and speak about the experiments to do with telepathy. They used microwave frequencies to beam voices directly into a subject's inner ear. The goal was to make a target believe they were hearing spirits or going insane by mimicking a paranormal experience. The FBI could manipulate a subject's behaviour without them even knowing a technology was being used on them. I just want to mention that many of these files have sections where the ink is so thick you can see where they press down on the page to hide the names of the private contractors involved. This implies the experiments haven't stopped. They've just been moved to private companies that aren't subject to the Freedom of Information Act. Before we wrap up today's episode, I want to address something. A lot of you have been commenting in my inbox about the last video, about the free taps we were speaking about. You've heard them in your hallways and houses in the dead of night. According to the Miller family's private journals, which were seized and then leaked, those free taps are a handshake protocol. It's an entity trying to see if your hologram is is receptive. Like I said in the last episode, if you get the knock of the Holy Trinity, do not proceed in communication. If you hear it, do not record it. Do not turn on the light. Just say out loud, "I am not on your frequency." It sounds crazy, I know. But according to the redacted files, observation is what gives these things power. Just like the invitation we were speaking about. If you stop looking, they lose their anchor in our world. This goes for the darker side of the paranormal. It doesn't mean to say that you stop all communication with any other spirits, but there are physical signs of when you're dealing with the darker side of the paranormal. So I've posted the coordinates to the Miller's house in the description below, along with the link to the gateway files. Go over there and check them out while they're still up. Also guys, just want to take a moment to ask you all to subscribe. This really helps the channel. It's free and it helps me make more videos like this. In part 2 of this episode, we are going to dive into why the FBI is buying up haunted land, especially across the Midwest. If you want to hear why they're buying up all this land, subscribe, hit that bell button to get notified when the next episode is up. Thank you for coming back to today's episode. Stay curious, but not only that, stay spooky. And I'll see you on the next one.